We're joining you a little early to cross live now to the NATO summit where Donald Trump is speaking alongside the Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa.
That's not including Venezuela. It's pretty amazing. And this all happened during my term. We started it at the first term. Biden blew it because he had no idea what he was doing. But we are producing more oil right now than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined by almost double. Okay, any other questions?
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
You said that dealing with the Iranians is a waste of time. How do you plan to get the nuclear material and the nuclear assurances that you want?
Well, we've already got the nuclear material because it's so far underground, nobody's going to be able to get it except us because we have the equipment that can get it. But I call it the nuclear dust. The nuclear material is so far down underneath the mountain, and now that's been determined, that it would take massive machinery that we have that no other country has.
Mr.
They can't
President,
get
so
it.
you have no plans to go in, boots on the ground?
Why would I go in now? I go in when they're completely either eliminated or whatever happened, or an agreement's made.
Mr. President,
Yes.
If you cut off trade with Spain, does that mean that you're going to have to renegotiate a trade agreement with the EU?
With who?
With the EU, any past trade agreements you already have?
We're going to see what happens with the EU. You know, they've treated us very badly for years, and they took advantages. Look, we're very close to those countries, right? And to everybody in the EU. The problem is they took advantage of the United States for years. It's like him. They took advantage of Syria. He's bringing it back. And I'm bringing the United States back. We have the greatest economy we've ever had. We have the biggest investment. 19.2 trillion is being invested right now in the United States. 3 trillion was the number, the record. Under Biden and under the past administration, they had less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We have 19.2 trillion in 12 months. Think of that. We have the largest amount of money being invested in a country in history. Pretty amazing. 19.2 trillion with a T. So, and they're building factories all over the country. I think yesterday Toyota announced they're leaving Mexico. And they're coming, I'm not that Mexico's thrilled about it, but they're leaving Mexico and they're coming to the United States to build what will be, I believe, the largest automobile plant either in the world or at least in this country.
Mr. President, on oil prices
Quick
today.
domestic question. You announced on Truth Social a couple days ago that Walmart was cutting the price for ground beef by 15%. How big of a deal is that for American customers this summer?
So Walmart has agreed to cut their prices very substantially because things are going down. We're getting it down. We inherited very high prices. We inherited the highest prices in the history of our country, or 48 years to be exact, but I don't believe that. I think it's in history. So under Biden, they had tremendous inflation. Under the Democrats, we had tremendous inflation, record-setting inflation. And now, inflation is way down. Everything is great. We have, the prices are coming down, but we inherited, you know, they talk about they use different words to describe it. They had very high prices. The prices are coming down. And when the oil comes, you know, the oil is coming way down. The oil dropped by 50% in the last month. And when that comes down, it brings everything else down. No, it's affordability. And they came up with the word affordability, you know, like I take over, I'm there for 1 day, and they say affordability, affordability. I said, I've been here for remember with the eggs, the first day or 2 days later, I have my first news, and they talked about eggs. They said the eggs have gone up 5 times. I've been in office for 1 day. And I said, well, we'll have to do something. In fact, they told me not to order eggs for the Easter egg hunt at the White House. I should use plastic. I said, we're not doing that. And by the time we came, that was a couple of months later, that happened, and we ordered thousands of eggs. And right now, eggs are way down. The prices are way down, and they're coming down further. So they made up a phony word that they used. They said affordability. They're the ones that caused the affordability prices. I didn't. But I brought it down. And the oil is coming down very big.
Mr. President, Brent crude is up slightly today on the announcement that
because we hit them. Anytime we hit them, it goes up a little bit, $2.
Is that what you mean? Is that what you meant when you said that we might see oil prices lift a little in response
a little
to?
bit, yeah, $2, very little. It's down from, let's say, $135 down to $69. It's dropping, and everything else drops. As oil goes, so goes everything else. But anytime if we hit Iran, oil goes up a little bit. It's all right.
Mr. President, do you think
And you know
Israel...
what we're doing? We're de-nuking it, all right? We're de-nuking Iran. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. All right, one more question?
Sir, do you think Israel should withdraw troops from southern Lebanon?
Well, I talked to Bibi about that. Yeah, I think they're going to. I think they want to. I don't think it's a question of me. I think it's a question they want to. And they're getting along with Lebanon. They're signing deals with Lebanon. First time ever. Marco, talk about that if you'd like.
Yeah, we have an agreement that's the goal at the end. Obviously, Israel's concerned about their security. But the president did a great job bringing those two countries together for the first time
It's a big thing. First time in many years, right? So we have a deal with Israel and Lebanon. And, yeah, they'll leave. And I think it's going to work out very well. But we're here for this because Syria has turned around as fast as I've ever seen. Well, actually, I turned the United States around very fast, too. I inherited from a man who was not smart, not a smart person. We inherited from a man where they were running this country so badly with the open borders. Think of it, 25 million people allowed into our country. And that includes 11,888 murderers, most of whom murdered more than one person, okay? And we got most of them out, or we have them in jail. And we've done a great job. Washington, D.C. now is considered one of the safest cities in the country. If he came to Washington, D.C. a year and a half ago, he'd fear for his life, even though he never feared for his life before, because it was very dangerous. But somehow his territory might have even been a little more dangerous. I joke because, you know, he comes from a rough environment. Would you say that's right, Tom Barrett? Yeah? It's sort of funny to think. I don't think he'd be too concerned with Washington a year and a half. But we had a very, very unsafe Washington, D.C., and now it's one of the safest cities in the country. We put the military in. Washington went from being an unsafe to one of the safest cities, and crime is down 94%. We don't play games. And we removed over 5,000 career criminals, many of whom came in through the open borders of Joe Biden. We did the same thing with Memphis, Tennessee. We did the same thing with in Louisiana. You have to speak to the governor, because New Orleans, the crime rate is down 78% in a little while, and they had the best Mardi Gras they've ever had. So we're doing a good job, and he's done a great job too. And I thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, press. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, a little there of the live bilateral meeting between Donald Trump and the Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa. And while Donald Trump did talk about Syria, as you heard there, he also veered onto a number of domestic issues as well. Listening to that with me, Ketavan Gorgestani, our foreign editor, today. And Ketavan, let's focus on Syria then, given that he was with the Syrian president. A number of ideas raised by Donald Trump there. He said that I think I will remove Syria from the state sponsors of terrorism list. He also said maybe they could help out with Hezbollah in Lebanon. That's something he's said several times in the past few weeks. What did you make of it all?
Well, look, clearly this was very important for Donald Trump. I mean, he's had only two bilaterals besides the bilateral with the NATO Secretary General and with Erdogan, who is the host of the summit, Zelensky and Sharaa. So it does give a sign of where the United States feels it is important to focus on. And the fact that he mentioned this removal from the state sponsor of terrorism is also very important, though it has been mentioned before, and there are a lot of sanctions that Syria was under. Some of the sanctions have been lifted, but this is really the core. It's not technically a sanction, but it's the core issue for Syria, one that they really want to see happen because it would unlock a lot of problems for them when it comes to dealing with other countries in the world. So the fact that Donald Trump said that, again, I'm going back to what we were discussing a little bit earlier. We have to also be very careful in the difference between what Donald Trump says in these sort of settings and what actually follows falls through later on. But it does give an indication of where Donald Trump himself stands and his relationship with Ahmed al-Sharaa. And clearly he is inclined to be having this good relationship. And this idea of helping out with Hezbollah is another sign of that, even though concretely no one exactly knows how that would actually work. Because, of course, despite Donald Trump saying a couple of times that Syria was very stable, very safe, they have their own issues to deal with, and it's unclear how really the Syrians could be involved in helping out when it comes to Hezbollah when they have their own situation to deal with and their own country to sort of have to stabilize.